Hello everybody and welcome to another video. It's going to be a bit different today. We're going to do a tier list, but before we do that I want to announce that I am doing a giveaway just to say thank you for all the support from everyone so far and show you that I really do appreciate all the support you give me. So all you need to do is be subscribed by the 30th of July and you were in for a chance of winning one of two £10 Amazon gift cards. And if you are subscribed by the 30th of July, I'll put your name into a randomizer to put you in with your chance to win. Anyway, enough about that. Let's start the video. So we are doing a bit of a tier list here, and we are going to basically, this is going to be a tier list not from strongest to weakest class in the game in general. It's basically going to be a tier list where from a Longsword and Shield player's perspective what I find is the strongest. So anyway, we're here starting with the Longbow. Now you don't often see the Longbow players as a Longsword and Shield player because you are more on the front line and they are staying way back. They have a lot of range. They're not too good against you because you have the shield, and if you have your shield up while attacking and things like that, they just can't really hit you. Their arrows just hit your shield. So from the longsword player's perspective, they don't really have too many issues with the longbow players. Alright, so next up is the dual blades. Now you guys know where I'm going to put this. I absolutely hate them. I hate them as a longsword player. I just cannot get anywhere near them. And when I do, they run away or something like that, or they do that stupid move which keeps you on the floor for about 40 hours. You just can't really do much against them as a longsword player. They do counter you very well. You are quite immobile apart from like your Clash of Shields, whereas their mobility is really high and they've got a lot of damage. So that is why I'm putting them in the S tier against us. Now in general I wouldn't put dual blades in S tier, of course not, but from the perspective of me as a longsword player, that's where I'm putting them. They counter us quite well. So the Glaive Player, with the Glaives, I'm just going to put the Glaive Player somewhere high up, because when you are holding a line against a Glaive Player and they're trying to hold their line with troops to troops, they seem to really be able to push you back and push your forces back more than you can do it to them. They really just seem to have a lot of AoE knockbacks and things like that. That's why I'm putting them there. They're very obnoxious to play against. So anyway, I'm going to put the Mole. Now this is going to be hard. They're going straight in S. We're not talking about them anymore. They're just fucking overpowered. Don't like them. They need to be nerfed into the ground. Okay, Muskets. Now the Muskets is a difficult one because as a longsword player you can get on them and you can stick to them, but they do have some mobility, not mobility but some like kite ability. They are semi good against us, but I've never really had too much of an issue tracking down and killing a musket player when I've needed to. Not really been too much bother for me, so I'm actually going to stick them from a longsword and shield perspective into somewhere around this B tier because yeah, I've never really had too much trouble with them. Now, the Nadachi is not overall a strong weapon. I know this. A lot of people use it, actually, but I actually really hate going against them as the longsword player. And this is because the longsword abilities just take a lot of you have to click a lot for it. You have to click your Q a lot to like get your full ability out. And the Nadachi, they have such long range on that sword. They just hit you and interrupt your abilities whenever you're doing them. So that's why I'm going to put them in A from my perspective as a longsword player. Now the Polax, I'm going to put the Polax. I've never had too much real issues against the Polax. It's just very hard to kill as a longsword player. You're really just at like a standstill with them. They're not really not really strong against you, but they're not weak against you either. They're just in the middle, and that's why from again the perspective of the longsword I am going to put them somewhere near the middle, because they are strong, don't get me wrong, they're a very strong class, but against the longsword they can struggle, but sometimes I can struggle against them too. It really depends on the player in my opinion. The short bow, now I've never really had an issue killing someone with a short bow, but they can, someone who's good, if the player's good with the short bow, they can really kite you around, but never really kill you, because you can just put your shield up and soak all of their damage. They don't really cause you too much stress as you have that shield. But yeah, they are a bit nifty. They are tricky to get caught up with and things like that. So that's why I'm going to put them in C. They're not exactly very good against the longsword at all, really. Now the short sword and shield, this is one which I had to think about a lot. I actually think it's it's basically just a 1v1 which will never end. Troops or no troops. I've never really had too much struggles going against someone with a short sword, but then again, I've never really killed someone with a short sword, and I don't think a short sword's ever killed me very easily either. It's just a very stalematey between the long sword and the short sword. That's why I'm putting them there. So anyway, we've got the spear as the last weapon we're going to do. Basically, with the spear, I'm probably just going to stick the spear somewhere, maybe even an A here, because basically it's the same as the Nadachi. The same thing I said as with the Nadachi. You're doing your abilities. It takes a little while for some of your abilities, especially my Q. I'm sorry, I can't remember the name of it. Where you have to click it a few times for the whole ability to work, but they can just interrupt you and then you've lost that ability for 20 seconds. That's the same as the Nadachi for me. But yeah, you get interrupted a lot, and I think the weapons with lots of interrupts really do counter the longsword quite a bit, and especially the dual blades. That's why they're up there. But anyway, yeah, I'm going to put the longsword in general, what I think where the longsword should be in the game in general. If I was doing not garbage, if I was doing a tier list where I thought the longsword would be in the game in its entirety, I'd probably put it in B. It's not weak, but it's not the strongest either. I think B's probably actually a very good place to have a class like the longsword. You don't want the longsword being in S tier, and you don't want it being really bad either. I think B's a good place. It's a nice, solid class where you don't need to. You don't need to kill people on the longsword class. You don't need to kill other players. Your main job is to keep the points and hold a line. So I think that is actually the perfect place in terms of balance where the longsword should be, and there should be stronger classes than the longsword, otherwise it would just be unstoppable. So there we are. That is what I'm saying. So just remember, this isn't a tier list for me of what's the strongest to the weakest in the entire game. It's just from the counters and things from the longsword and shield players' perspective. This is what I feel personally after playing on the longsword and shield for a little bit. Let me know if you do use the longsword and shield and whether you agree with what I'm saying or whether you would change any. I'd love to see your comments. I'd love to see your opinions. So please do let me know in the comments below. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow.